Welcome back to the KB Money Show. It's your boy KB, and I have my host, Mr. Ivy League, Mr. I'm about to say something crazy.
Man,
So nine, man, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm feeling good. As always, feeling blessed. Just happy to make it to another recording of the KB Money Show. Happy to talk with you and just happy to share with the audience, man. Looking forward to it.
That's what's up. All right, well, it's been we hadn't talked for about a week. I think last time we talked, I was out of town. You had stuff going on, so catch us up. Just family life, work life, and then we got to talk about that money.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, I'm trying to think. I I think I had a good, a boring, but good type of boring type of week. I think it was just business as usual. Went to work this week. And then me and the wife hung out. We had a little date night last night, but I guess I'm saying uneventful because I don't know if you've been tuning in the past couple of weeks. Yeah, I've been having to drive through snow. I've been skiing, so I feel like and my brother-in-law was with us too. So I feel like I'm getting a chance to just to sit down and really have just been thinking and really thinking about my life, my the present, and what I want to do in the future, and just I seen it as a chance to reset and just figure out, think about my direction. But other than that, like I said, this has just been a week of planning, a week of just locking in with work and family. And like I said, me and the wife just had fun last night walking around. It's new to us. We're in the area. We're like I said, we're in Boston. I'm not saying that you couldn't walk around Philadelphia, freely, but Boston's just a different type of walkable. Like they compare it to Europe. And so we're so used to if we want to go somewhere now, we got to get in the car and go drive somewhere. But last night was like, you know what, let's just walk around where we are right now. Like, we forget that we can do that sometimes. And so, we ended up going to a new spot and we was like, wow, there's so many spots just in this little area that we forget about. And so not saying we got to go hit all of them, but that's the thing. But to wrap up with the money, that's the most I say that's the most important part. Like I said again, business as usual there, making another allocation towards the emergency fund. I'm getting dangerously close to 11K. I'm about 300 away, so I'm excited to hit that. I got to figure out a celebration for that. A little mini milestone. And other than that, yeah, that's nothing too major there.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, yeah. Gotta go out and explore the city. Gotta go out and explore the city. Um, for me, so 11, close to 11 of 15 being a target, right?
Right.
Yeah. Looking forward to the day where we can push past the emergency fund because we have a good show today, or at least in terms of the topic, and that's really going to be where we want to spend the majority of our focus on. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll slow roll it. So just to talk about my week. Talk about my week. Um, so I was last weekend. I was traveling. So back at home, you could probably tell. Uh, work, work front. Is there anything eventful? Getting ready to switch over to another team. So that's gonna be a new journey for me. Um, Still gonna handle business. You know how that go. On the money side of things, I think I've told everyone that I have switched my focus. It was to pay off the house. Not doing that anymore. Going actually storing up liquidity now and capital to purchase a rental property in Houston. So that's what the focus is right now. And so I'm lining up some things for that. I I've identified a real estate community of other investors. I'm getting ready to have that conversation with them to explore if I want to join that community or not. Um, and so more to come there. But there's power in community. And so when you're looking to go in a certain direction, it's good to get connected with people that's going in that direction. And that way, you can bounce ideas off of them. It might be some people that may have 10, 15 properties, and you're like, okay, well, tell me about this, or how do I manage tenants, or how do I, do this, and and so it's just, and then not only that, you know how it goes if you've ever been in any groups in general. It's just good energy. It challenges you. Sometimes it's like, dang, I need to get my weight up in a good way, right? Like,
Yeah.
dang, or it's like inspirational, or you might serve that for someone else, or you might get some energy because someone getting ready to close their deal, and you like, man, mine coming, but like, congratulations to you on locking yours down now, and vice versa. So just so many benefits to that. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we were just talking about community and the importance of it. A lot of times you can find yourself in isolation, trying to do it all yourself, trying to read all these books and try to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
And I would even go to say it's not that that isn't important. More than likely, if you're in a community, you probably have a book club, or you're probably reading books together, and probably read more curated books as it relates to that. But what happens is we were talking and we were kind of debating, just it was really dialogue of we was almost questioning, is it more powerful to be in the proximity of people doing what you're doing if you don't read the book versus you just being by yourself reading the book in isolation, but then you do nothing with it. You know what I mean? Because you're like you're stuck, and then now you just taking in all this information, and you're smart, I guess. You theoretically know what to do, but you don't know what to do because you're not executing, and maybe this is something that's keeping you stuck. And so anyway, that was random, but anyway, if you got any thoughts on that, but that's we were kind of just talking through that yesterday.
Man, that's you just dropped a lot of gems just in that right there. I mean, I feel like that could be a whole segment. I mean, first of all, you talk about community. I think that you are really good at practicing what you preach because you tell me all the time, you even sent me a book about who, not how, in terms of, figuring out how to branch out and learn from people, not books all the time. Not, both, not just one or the other, you know what I'm saying? Like relying on, don't discount that what you can learn from other people's experience. That can be sometimes 10 times more valuable than what you read on the page. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that that's something that I'm trying to break my shell out and get out of my comfort zone and lean more into and lean into community. And I mean that begins with exploring my city. But I just think that you sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, you know. And I definitely I think that's a great topic though. And I definitely lean towards the. I think it's more valuable. You don't even touch the book. Go find somebody. Don't even touch the book if you're not willing to go find somebody. That's kind of my stance now, because that's the part of the process. It's kind of like I can't think of anything that you can do on your own successfully in this world besides walk, go fix yourself something to eat. I'm not talking about that type of stuff, but if you really want to achieve something great, it requires you got to form some bonds to make it happen. It can't be that great if you can do it by yourself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Maybe we'll go deep on that on another time, but it just had me thinking about that. All right, so let's get into the I'm ready to get in there.
Let's
Let's get into the topic.
let's
Uh,
jump in.
let me see here. So, which direction do I want to go? Which direction do I want to go? Which direction do I want to go? So I'm going to I know how I want to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up an article. I'm going to pull up an article and we're going to talk through it and then we'll elaborate. All right.
Okay.
That's how we going to do it.
You usually have pretty good articles, so I'm excited to see. What we got? What we got?
and then we'll just elaborate off of it. All right, bring on by itself. I lost my screen. See, I done got spoiled having multiple monitors, and I'm just on one right now. So, all right, there we go. All right,
Right.
yeah, there we go.
No, the multiple monitor is a game changer. Shoot.
There we go. Queued up.
I can see your screen.
Most Americans want to be financially independent. Here's how much it will take. And sometimes people use financial independent, financial freedom interchangeably, but let's get into the article. Independence is a common goal for people at many different life stages. And let me bag up. This article is from CNBC. As you can see, you can easily find it. It came out last year, but I wanted to cover it. In fact, 67% of Americans say achieving that milestone is important to them, according to a recent survey from Empower Financial Services. But financial independence can be various meanings. That's what I was saying. Like it could be mean different. One popular definition is having enough money to be able to stop working. That's always a big thing, right? People want to stop working and control that, make work optional. A more attainable interpretation is that you don't have to rely on someone else, such as your parents or a spouse or a boss or a company, for money. Regardless of how they define it, Americans say financial independence is almost the most important marker of the overall life success. Interesting. Or feeling like you finally made it. It doesn't take an exorbitant salary either. Americans say they'll need to earn about 94,000 a year on average to feel financially independent. That's about 20,000 more than the median household income of 74,580. So that's always interesting that I'm gonna reserve my opinion there. Uh,
All right.
for now, financial independence may look different for everyone. There are several ways people may consider themselves financially independent. A young adult who moves out of their parents' house, a subscriber to the FIRE movement, we gonna get there, which stands for Financial Independence Retirement Early, who is able to live off passive income with the flexibility to work for a lower salary or not at all. But all right, so we're gonna talk about that. I want to scroll down more. So basically saying taking it up a level, if you're looking to be as financially independent as possible, a fire mindset might be a good idea for you. Followers typically aim for a certain net worth known as their fire number. Have you heard of this before?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Which is the amount of money that they need to have saved and invested to be work optional. You don't
Mm.
have to adhere to a specific definition of financial independence to be part of the FIRE movement, but for many followers, it is tied to the ability to retire early, which requires you to be untethered from other people and institutions, whether that's a supportive family member or an employer paying you to work. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna get off of this. I'm gonna stop sharing this. And the reason that I shared that article is to get the conversation going about, is that something that you think about as you're starting your career in terms of financial independence, passive income, financial freedom, making work optional. Have you done the math to have you done the math yet, right? Or have you not dug into it enough yet? Or this is kind of doing a deeper dive and kind of your first exposure to it?
This is a this is such an interesting topic. I think that I probably got my first exposure to it. Because me and you talk about these type of things. I think I'm sure you've been giving me like these type of gems since high school. Now, I listened to some of it. Some of it I think I was too young to hear. But I mean that's not true. But I think that I started probably thinking about retirement in the sense of I'm more leaning into the camp of okay, I want to have a big amount of not just net worth, but say like a amount of money in the bank that I can pull from. You know what I'm saying? In terms of interest. That was the camp that I was in for the longest in terms of like that's what my goal is. And I think I'm still somewhat in that camp. I still do want to save some money, at least an emergency fund. I mean, so I'm in the camp in that regard. But in terms of my retirement, I'm just more so trying to get out of it's a process, but financially, I'm also just doing this in other areas of my life. But I'm trying to get less into the. You do want to have overall visions and goals, I would say, but I think that stuff is just like, especially for somebody like me, that's just fun to make. That's just fun to think about. But I got to actually think about the habits that's going to get me there. And so,
Mm.
like one of the habits that's going to get me there, like it's all talk unless I don't. It's all talk unless I opt into my 401k. If I don't opt into the 401k, then it's just all talk. So I opted into my 401k. So, I mean, whenever they first gave it to me, have whatever percentage. It doesn't matter if I only put in $1 a paycheck. It's still having that mindset of don't put off for the tomorrow to start doing it. It's trying to find little ways to start building momentum to get there. And what really helped me, what helped change my mindset on this too, was also the conversation we had about how do you put it about I guess we'll call it active income, earned income per month, having cash flow. That's what we'll call it, cash flow. And that conversation just kind of unlocked and put into context a lot of things that I had kind of noticed before because I had observed people that had, cash flow coming in, and I noticed I'm not gonna say their life was easier, but problems were able to just be, you were able to just stiff arm some problems a little easier. And I was like, okay, interesting. Like I observed that, and that made my takeaway was I need to figure out how to get my cash flow up. That needs to be a part of the equation. And so I think that I say all that to say if you don't take away nothing else, I guess the listener, don't just fixate on one thing. One thing might not save you. Don't just focus on one goal. You might fail if you just focus on one goal. Focus on setting up a system that includes goals, if you get what I'm saying, in the system, but focus on setting up a system that you know that if you follow that system, you ain't got no choice but to get to where you want to go to. And you got to figure out some who's. I like to let you speak on that part. You're the expert on getting who's involved.
Yeah. Well, I ain't gonna say I'm an expert, but I'm on my journey too. I'm on my journey too. I'm gonna tell you why I wanted to make the pivot on it. It's because once you get in this mindset and you start getting in those communities, whether it's maybe you aren't interested in the retirement early part of it, but maybe the financial independence part of it sounds intriguing to you. And so maybe you don't resonate with the retirement part because you're like, man, I'm in my 20s, or hey, or I'm in my 30s, or heck, even if you're in your 40s, you're like, that just, when you think of retirement, which is kind of not really a thing, um, you think of, okay, the definitions that was given by, you know, the government,
Right.
the financial planners, and it's a whole industry built around that with financial products conveniently to help you
Mhm.
with that, right? Just conveniently to help you with that. Got it. But what I wanted to do was really talk about productive content that can start the process of getting you in that mindset because time and time again, what usually happens? Man, I wish I would have heard about this earlier. oh man, I just
Isn't
didn't
it?
know that that was a thing. And
Mm.
whatever variation you decide to put into practice, at least you understand what it is. And you're like, oh, this is a different way of thinking. I can put my tweak on it, but I'll be better as a result of being exposed to it than just going and not even to your point, building momentum to make a better future for myself. Versus because what happens is you're working, you're working, working, the money coming in.
And it'll go.
But then guess what? But guess what? You know, a layoff comes.
Mm.
Then you realize, oh, snap, it's not as secure as I thought it was. Or
Yes.
I really don't have financial independence.
I
Or
thought I was in a stable job. They said this was a stable, this is what I'm supposed to do. I ran the play that they tell us to play, run. You know what I
or or I had this good government job
mean?
and I thought it was secure. You know,
Yeah.
sure it's being paid by taxpayers' dollars and whether it's just jobs that have value or not, that's not really the debate for today. But as we can see, it's being looked at as if it's in, you know, the private sector like we're in, or like publicly traded companies. Like now you're starting to see that there isn't that safety, and so what happens, you get exposed,
Mm.
and then you get exposed on either side, whether you had a crazy high income and if you didn't, either way, like you really start to, it's almost like you're sheltered from the realities of what's going on in the world and how the world really works. But it's just you're in your world, you're in your bubble. You start having lifestyle creep. But the money's still coming in, but you don't realize you hadn't been accumulating any assets, anything. You just been accumulating things, and then it goes away, like the Thanos snap
Yeah.
from Infinity Wars, I think, where he hit him with that snap.
Messed them up. They was hurt. The next move,
Done.
they half the move they set up, they was sad. But man, that's such a interesting concept, man. You definitely, I think that the main takeaway, one of the main takeaways for me is that regardless of where you're seated at, public, private, wherever space, you need to operate with the mentality. You need to be agile because you
Mm.
need to operate with the mentality that what's safe today might not be safe tomorrow. You need to be just accept that and don't come at it from a fear perspective, but
100%.
come at it from a perspective of you just got to adapt because the reason why we're thinking that is because that's what we've seen. That's what we grew up seeing. We grew up seeing our parents and the generation of punch clock in, punch the clock out. Do that enough times, you're gonna get a pension, or we're gonna take care of you. You're gonna be set. And I'm not saying that that's gone. The pensions are gone for the most part, but retirement that's still you can set yourself up. But my point is, don't don't operate with the don't try to operate safe. You might crash anyway. You know what I'm saying. You need to operate
Mm.
with the mentality of trying to maximize the value you can bring. Don't come at it from a don't go look for a safe job because they're not there anymore. And it really one of the reasons which me and you talk about we've talked about on the show. I think we've talked about is AI. AI is a big reason why there's no more safe jobs. These jobs were safe because we had no alternative. The alternative's here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna take the conversation a little bit further. So now I introduced that article to us, and that we see that a lot of people want financial independence, but how do we? It still feels elusive. It still feels financial freedom. Freedom. What does that mean? It feels liberal.
It's not tangible. Like
It's
what?
And so how can we start the process of making it tangible? And you can make your tweaks as you see fit based on
Mm.
what your goal is, but we have to work on something, like something tangible. And so I'm going to do that for us today. And I'm not saying it's a good start with this article I'm getting ready to share. I'm not saying it's the be all end all, but just work with me. Don't be if you hadn't explored it, hey, you're welcome. This is just the start of it. All right. So queuing it up. So financial independence, retire early. We're gonna talk about how it works. But then so first we need to start with what is financial independence, retirement early. And we covered a little bit on the previous article, but we got to do a deeper dive. Financial independence, retirement early, the movement of people devoted to a program of extreme saving and investment with a goal of retiring far earlier than traditional budgets and retirement plans would permit. You heard that? You heard that?
Yep.
Far earlier than traditional budgets and retirement plans would permit. What
Mm.
that means is you got to do something different than the traditional.
That's extreme. Yeah.
Yes. Now, what that looks like for you, hey, and also you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I really willing to do that? And if the answer is no, stop lying to yourself, put your mind at ease, and just keep moving forward with what you're doing. But just don't create cognitive dissonance within yourself where you like have this split personality where you have this internal struggle of like, I want to do this, but I'm doing this. I want to do and like it's just that conflict. Like be at peace, like, you know what? Yes, I'm going to do it. Then you start slowly walking your way towards doing it, getting in with the community, or, you know, I evaluated it. I don't want to do that, or I'm not interested, or I'm not ready, whatever the case may be, and be at peace with that, and then continue down whatever path that is, right? Um, and be good with that. So the one thing that I want to scroll down to is now let's talk about the purpose. The FIRE movement prioritizes greater financial independence through a program. We talked about that, frugality and aggressive investments. FIRE devotees, it's funny how they say that, may hope to retire earlier than the conventional 65 to 70 and
Okay.
hopes to gain greater financial independence.
Mm.
Now it's all coming back to you.
Like I'm not like my thing is I'm not mad at this play at all. If this is a play you running, I'd much rather this play than no play. You know what I'm saying? I like this play. I think this is a good play. If you're on your journey picking a play, you need something to attach to, not attach to, but you know what I'm saying. I think this is a. What do you think?
Well, if you've looked at the traditional path and you may have saw someone in your life live it out and you're say, I know it's not that.
Hmm.
This is an alternative.
For sure. I don't know if I saw fire growing up when you put it like that.
No, you
Yeah,
didn't.
but
You didn't see it. We didn't
didn't
see
know
it.
about it.
No, Social Security was fire. Like getting on Social Security, like you work, then that income goes away, and then now Social Security kicks in, whether it be through disability side of it, and then you're like, "Hey, I retired." It's like, did you?
Mm.
Did
Oh,
you?
mm. Wow.
When you having income, when you still having money issues, did you?
Right.
And it's kind of a struggle to pay bills and then live a little bit. Okay. Now, saving 75% of their yearly income, that's a bit extreme. When their savings reach their fire number, typically 25. So here's how you to because what I want to get to is how do you determine your fire number?
Mm.
So your fire number is 25 times your yearly expenses. So meaning your savings reach their fire number typically 25 times their yearly expenses. They may quit their day jobs or retire from work altogether. And you say, how do you do that? To cover their living expenses after retiring at a young age, fire devotees make small withdrawals from their savings, aka investments, typically around 3 to 4% of the balance yearly. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. And so there's three different types. You have barista fire. So the three versions of fire. You have barista fire. This individual wants to exist between the two choices above. They quit their traditional 9 to 5 jobs and use a combination of part-time work and savings to live a more than minimalist lifestyle. They might
Oh,
purchase healthcare coverage while keeping their retirement funds intact. So that's like barista. It's like lower than lean,
they literally mean barista. I thought that was like an acronym or like just a name. No, they mean become a barista.
basically.
Okay.
Then you have lean fire. This individual is devoted to minimalism living and extreme saving, necessitating a far more restricted lifestyle. Many lean fire adherents live on 25,000 or less per year. And that's how they determine their fire number. Then you have fat fire. This is the this is the individual with a 9 to 5 job who aims to save substantially more than the average worker, but doesn't want to reduce their current standard of living. That's the key. It generally takes a high salary and aggressive savings and investment strategies for it to work. So this is usually for the high income earners to do the fat fire. That means you're still able to live the lifestyle that you're currently living off your investments once you hit your number. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now, here's what the kicker is. How many people achieve fire?
It's a good question.
That's the question. Look from by age. Look, so, and this is according to the Motley Fools. So, 2016, 2022 is 2025, but we'll just go with it just give you a general. From 40 to 44, there's 1% of the population that hits that.
Mm,
There's from 45 to 49, 2% of the population. From 50 to 54, 6% of the population. From 55 to 59%, 55 to 50, age 59, 11%.
okay.
So when you see all of that, what are your thoughts?
I'm looking at the I'm just wondering that like the study how they came to that number. Not that that matters, but I'm just that's interesting. But I don't know. It just reminds me of I don't have any metrics to back this up, but I don't know. I feel like anything that's like elite or worth doing. Don't know if it's gonna be a high percentage of people doing it. I don't know if I want to do what 80 other percent of other people did. That's probably too easy then. So like it makes me think, okay, it puts it in context. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have it by 40. But wouldn't it be cool if you had it by 40 or 45? You know what I mean? That type of
Yeah.
thinking. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be in that 1%? And
Yeah.
so now it helps you start to frame the how. How am I going to achieve this goal? By acting like the 1%. Like, and now you got to frame your decisions by what the 1%. Is this a 1% decision or is this 99? You just got to choose. If you want to be 99, that's okay. Go be 99. It's gonna be plenty company, but if you're gonna be 1%, you gotta, and go find somebody in 1%. Shoot.
Okay, so I have a question for you. If you follow this plan, even if you didn't do it, if you're so here's where because it's an extreme frugality, right?
hmm
What if you loosened it up a little bit to take a trip here and there? created a sinking fund to take a trip here and there, right? To where you adjusted it to what how you wanted to approach it. So there's different ways to approach it, but my question to you, do you think you'll be better off following a plan like this versus following the traditional path?
I definitely would like to stray away from the traditional path. And I think I lean more towards my desire is towards the fat fire. That's what I'm leaning towards. Like that if I have to pick a camp of the fires, I don't think I would do barista fire. I don't think that lean fire, I don't know. My point is I don't want to have to be frugal. Like to me, it just boils down. It's really simple. It just boils down to I've been reading. I think you shared this book with me a long time ago, like when I was in college. You Were Born Rich. I've been listening to it. I haven't been reading it, but one of the chapters, it's one of them books that you don't just speed through and read like, oh, I'm done. You just put it on and just listen to it. But he talks about desire and expectation. And
Mm,
he breaks it down because I know about the desire. I know about my desire. I know what I want. But then he broke it down and talked about what do you actually expect to get? You're not going to really achieve anything that you don't also expect to achieve. And when he broke it down like that, so okay, back to what we're talking about. I don't expect myself to be frugal like that for the next 20, 30, 40 years. I don't want to even I don't even know if I want to do that. I don't want that. So what do I want? Something that probably looks like fat fire, but I think it's just about you got to modify it to fit you. Get inspiration from this because I like this thinking. I'm not bashing fire at all because to me it shows that you're getting serious about your money and you want to do something. You want to do something different. I like that type of thinking. So now challenge yourself to go even further and figure out what about fire do you need to pick up from and go find a community, go find some who's to help you personalize it for you and achieve your goal.
okay, so uh, you said your, but specifically for you, does that change your thoughts, your strategy moving forward?
On fire, it my
Now
main
hearing some of this, are you like, okay, I need to, yes, emergency fund, that's great, but now I need to incorporate because the emergency fund, that's table stakes. That's just gotta
right.
happen just to build you a buffer if something go down. But like, what is the
Mhm.
overarching goal that you're working towards beyond the emergency fund?
So I would put that in the category like defense, like okay, emergency fund defense, stacking up defense. My mindset would be also start playing offense, even if it's running practice, but whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you, run offense. But for me, that's like I said, I felt like I was in purgatory with the emergency fund, keep just stacking it up and then go to retirement. But I say, you know what? Nah, just what is the little 3%, 5%? I don't think about that from my check. I'd like because I really did the math. I asked ChatGPT, hey, with running math, running taxes, and it's like an extra 20 or $30 that I'm not getting. I'm gonna survive, you know what I'm saying? And so, but I want to build the muscle memory of investing in a 401k. And so that's one way. Also, just like we talked about earlier, increasing your earned income. And so for me, that figuring out what that looks like, max out your 9 to 5 or 9 to whatever, max that out. And also at the same time, branch out and figure out how else can you provide value to the world? That's it. And connect with who's when you said what's my takeaway, really my takeaway is who's my who? I need to go find a who financially. Like that's because I sometimes you get so stuck in whatever your goal is, your short-term goal. Some else that Bob Proctor talks about in that book, you forget that such greater ideas can exist because it's hard to think about so many things at one time. So that's my takeaway. I need to go either find a group of who's, which I think I have one group that I'm like that's pretty good with this, but I need to go find more people that can push my thinking financially because you'll be like you're saying I'll be chasing this emergency fund goal and never think about retirement. But in my head, I'm making progress because I spent 2 or 3 years building up emergency fund, but my retirement fund is looking sad. So, like I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. So I need to go find some people that help me explore what I don't know.
Okay. All right. So how not to fire?
Oh no.
Fire
This
slash
ice. This
how not to fire. Fire, financial freedom fails.
hmm
Five costly mistakes. I'm gonna say in this scenario because we have, significant others,
hmm
couples make, and you want to avoid these like the plague.
hmm
All right. So we gonna get some visuals up in here to
There we go.
follow. And I'm gonna just type them out. It ain't gonna be nothing too fancy. So
Perfect.
number one, tell me if this resonate with you.
hmm
We'll save what's left.
Mm.
Trap.
Mm.
So meaning you revenue for everybody else
Yeah.
and not for yourself.
Yeah. That
That's
for sure.
that is a absolute mistake. That is
That's
a
a good word. Trap. That's a good word. You pick trap. Yeah. It's a trap.
fire fails.
It's
Five
ice. So
costly mistakes. Avoid. Explanation mark. All right.
yeah,
So have you ever found yourself in that will save what's left trap?
for sure. And it's I guess
Taking care
another way to
of
phrase
everybody else but you. And you the one that went
exactly.
and generated the revenue.
You worked hard for that money. You put in the hours, but like it's not paying yourself first. That's how I would frame it too. Like you paying yourself last. That's paying yourself last. Really, what you're doing with what's left. Shoot.
Been there, done that, past that stage. What I would recommend there is put a line item on your budget, and it can just be a financial freedom fund or investment fund or whatever, and treat it like a bill to where it automatically goes the same way your electricity bill, your if you have a car note, if you have this insurance, treat it the same way, and then when you do it that way, it's automatically just going out, and it's being taken care of. How you're
Mm,
doing it, how we do it, one of those ways, but not the only way. Because if you're looking to reach financial freedom, it's not only through a 401k. So just remember that. But that is one of the ways where it's automatically coming out of your check, and then it's done. But I would challenge you to also create another line item strategically to also pay yourself in another form, whether it be you saving up some liquid to make an investment in real estate. I'm
mm,
doing that. That's what I'm doing right now. So we talk about financial freedom. That is one of my That's going to be one of my strategies is to have uh rental property income through real estate.
so would you say that that fits into fire?
It's so the way they look at fire here is it's building up your net worth, building
Okay,
up
I
that
see what you
building like you're building up this pool of money to draw down from it. Like, and so, but you have to build it up enough for the 3 to 4% rule to work. Think about it. All right, so I'm gonna do a slight pivot. So when you're talking about fire, since this is technical, so let's just say you paid yourself for years, you paid yourself, and now you've accumulated. Maybe that
mean.
number is like that scares you. Maybe that number scares you. But let's say somebody's doing
Yeah.
barista fire. You saved it up now. We're gonna bring it back home, but you saved it up. Let's just say you've gotten 500,000, right? In a in your investment account. Investment.
Hmm. Companies matching, helping me out. I'm doing it.
Okay. So multiply
Hmm.
that by the 3%. Let's people call it the 3% rule, so let's just say 4%. That's
What's
how
that?
much
300,000, 500,000, 4%. So 200, 20,000, 200,000, something like that.
500 times 4%.
That's 20,000.
That's 20K per year that you can live on from the account.
Okay.
Now, not $20, 20K. And then you break that down by month. But as you can imagine, that's really lean. So you still working part-time.
Right.
But
That's
you're
handling your rent or something, maybe part of it, you know.
right. Now, let's just say you say, I want to step it up a little bit more. Let's go lean. Well, I want to enjoy a couple things. Let's just say it's one point, let's say you double it, right?
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Let's say you double it times 4%. It's just doubled 40K. And
okay.
I'm making it super basic, so I know the folks that are like fire pros out there, and they like, man, it's a little bit more complicated. I understand. I get it. This is just for
Right.
illustration purposes, especially if you're a beginner and this is your first exposure to it. That's it.
Right.
Get into depth, sure, you're gonna need to go deeper. So 4K, 40K per year, and then you just so basically that's 2 grand a month, right?
Now, and depending on where you live at, you can get away with that for real, depending on where you live at, like in the US, you
And
know?
so let's just say someone fat fire. And I'm just using, I'm gonna say realistic numbers. Fat fire, and let's just say someone went crazy and they've got to 2.5.
Yeah, that's not too crazy. You give it some time. This like after 2, 3 decades, you would say, huh? Or 2 decades? Or depend
Yeah.
what's the time?
Like you're young. So let's say you hit this by the time you were 40.
Okay.
Like let's say we've been talking about all this fire, financial freedom and all that, and you like, bro, I'm super convicted, and you start working on your plan now because you're young and then you give yourself time for accumulation. You already don't have no debt, and so you just like plowing everything into investments,
Hmm.
and you end up with 2.5
Two
4%.
point
So you're able to live off of
the 100K.
100K per year
Wow.
per year, and you just break that down monthly, and I just happen to know what that is. It's like eight, something like that, um, divided by yeah 833. That lets you know I done that number a lot of times. 100,000 divided, yeah, so it's like 833, whatever. So that's a check. That's a paycheck, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're just living off
Hmm.
your investments. So just and like you said, man, I ain't trying to be scrimping, but so imagine you having minimal debts and that's coming in, right? Reoccurring. You can make that work. So that's what the whole fire movement is. And how not to get there is we'll say what's left trap.
Yeah,
So tying it all back home. Now, obviously, these numbers can change, these numbers can look a little different, but you get the basic premise, right?
for
So
sure.
so does that change anything for you as I'm going into the next one on how not
It
to
kind
fire?
of reminds me, it kind of reminds me of because it's like a balance between you have to think about how you're living now and figure out how do you want to live later and making sure, that you got to adjust one to affect the other. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so it reminds me of course, this is totally different. We always talk about football and stuff, NFL. This is money different. But it talks about Shannon. It reminds me of Shannon. He said his agent, him and his financial agent was talking, and his agent asked him what did he want. And he just said, I want to live the same way I'm living right now, like 20 years from now, 30 years from now. And then, long story short, agent went through the whole thing with him, talking to how to do it. And, it looks like he's doing it. And to me, a big part of that looks like continuing his income. He didn't just retire and sit back after football. It seemed like he's been active, but that's I think that's the part of fire. That's what I'm missing. To me, fire is just, I'm only hearing the defensive part of it, but I think that what fire really encompasses is the offense too. Like you're talking about how to increase your income because you're gonna have to increase your income to get to that fat fire. You ain't gonna just think your way to fat fire.
Yeah, and so that's a great observation. And so what I've noticed of folks that really is really like in that 1%, 2% that actually hit it, they had a high income usually. They usually had a high income, and they also were doing they were working, they had side hustles, or they was investing in real estate, or they was flipping properties, and they were doing they were hustling. They had that hustle mentality. Maybe they had two jobs, doubling up, going crazy. Like, but they were it wasn't the average person. And I think that my thing is if you want something extraordinary, you can't be ordinary. You can't be average. And so
Yeah.
what happens a lot of times is we're comparing things to the average, but as we've seen the numbers, it's not that many people that hit it. So if you're following a average plan, you're going to get average results. You feel me?
Yeah,
And so
for sure.
if you're following an above average plan, an extraordinary plan, it's either going to challenge you to lift to the occasion, but not justify, well, everybody's not able to do that, or everybody can't make high income, or like you have that mentality of whatever it takes, I'm gonna figure it out. So maybe I have a low income where I need to lean into real estate properties because that's an avenue too. There's two people that instantly come to mind that they reach their financial independence in two different ways. One of them is Our Rich Journey. It's a couple. They started early, and by the time they got to like 40, they did it, and they have a larger portfolio. So they're kind of in that fat fire range, but they had side hustles, they did real estate, they had businesses, and the most important thing, they worked together as a unit. They work together. Then there's another guy, and it's just a guy. He's super average, never made more than $100,000. You could tell he's very regular. You could tell, but he, he pursued the real estate side. He did not focus on stocks at all. Wasn't interested.
That's fair.
He only focused on real estate, and every year he put himself in position to buy real estate. He would buy a property, get it stabilized, put tenants in it, house hack, get another one, do it again. Have to save a year, 2 years to get the down payment again, do it again, and that started building a compounding effect. And now I think he has like 20 he make 20,000 a month off his rental property. And I'm just giving you vague numbers, but like those are two different stories that reached it, that reached it. And so they didn't fall into the we'll save what's left trap. And
Mhm.
then going into number two, if they did fall in it, they learned the lesson and learned from the
Mhm.
lesson and kept moving forward. So don't beat yourself up on the lesson, but how many times do you have to how many times do you have to make the mistake to get the lesson so you can move
Right.
on to doing what you need to do? So here's the other thing when it comes to couples. One is a spender, one is an ultra saver. You see the disconnect there? You're not on the same
Mm.
page. That can impede and kill your progress before it even start. Number three, that's self-explanatory. Underestimating inflation,
Mm.
lifestyle creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inflation and lifestyle creep. So on the inflation side, you just keep buying liabilities and getting debt, and what you don't realize is crushing you because the way to keep up with inflation is you have to buy assets. When inflation happens, there's appreciation on real estate.
Hmm.
So if you have real estate, more times than not, for the people that's getting crushed with the interest rates and everything going up, your inflation, because you own assets, is going up, and your net worth as a byproduct, it just going up and up. And so, have you ever heard the term "the rich are getting richer"?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons. Is because they own assets or your investment portfolios. You're storing money in there, and so your stocks are appreciating. But if you just renting, you don't own nothing, and you just have a check, it's struggling because inflation, things are getting more and more expensive, so it's eroding your paycheck, and you don't
Yeah.
have any assets. That's because inflation is going up, your assets would be going up. You don't have that. And so your spending power is going down, down, down. And so you're having to do more with less. But you're trying to buy the same things, and it's not even allowing you to buy the same things. We're not even talking about
Mhm.
doing all these elaborate things. And so these are the conversations. If someone said, "Man, I wish I knew that when I was younger."
Right.
But because it's happening to you and you don't realize like what is going on. Like, and you will probably have, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those charts where you seen like a movie ticket back in the day cost this, but now it's this, or candy costs this or this, or you seen a soda cost
Right.
this and now it costs this. Or you may even hear people that's older reflecting back on the past of like, man, things this used to only cost a quarter. But see,
Right.
their income hasn't kept up with things getting more expensive.
Mm, yeah.
So they're feeling the pinch, and that's why you probably hear them saying talking like that.
That's and I think that's why I'm like wary of barista and lean fire. Because
Mm,
I think that these ideas were probably, I don't know, but it seems like that it's also like kind of rooted in numbers that worked a while ago. Like a while ago, if you would have said 20 to somebody 20 or 30 years ago, hey, in 20 to 30 years, you can have 40K coming in. That would sound sweet. So I think that nowadays, though, with like you said, with the way the inflation has gone up, you can't still rely on 4%. It doesn't mean what it meant 30 years ago. And so you have to go fat fire or else don't do fire at all, do something else. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, but no, you got to go all in if you're gonna do it nowadays.
all right, that's an interesting point. The other thing is, nah, yeah, I love how you're thinking because that's how my mind was thinking in a certain way of like, why would I go to the bare minimal? It'd be like, sure, you hit the milestone, but keep building. Like, and so like maybe barista fire is just the target that you hit, and you wave at it and keep going, and like, okay, next up, lean fire. We hit that one.
Right.
Okay, next up, our target is fat fire, and you just keep going. But at least now you're anchoring some options along the way, like where you can make some strategic pivots because the journey is long. So right, so it's like you can make some pivots, or where it'll help you make pivots a little bit easier as you're hitting each target. But you're not gonna hit barista for you specifically, and you're like, I don't feel good to just hit that one and sit still, and I'm done, and I'm out the game, and I'm hey, retirement, I'm out of here. But for some people, they do, and that's fine, right? Next, and lifestyle creep is self-explanatory. You're making more money and you just keep your lifestyle just keep coming up, just increase. You get a better car, you get better clothes, you take better vacations, all the things.
Yeah.
You know how that goes. Number four, relying. only on a 401k for retirement. When you hear that, how does that make you feel? Because you put money in a 401k right now.
I think that, that it, I really like the language that you use, retiring and in all caps only. Because I think that we talked about this a week or two ago. We talked about that. Something about dependent or something like that, retire, relying. I agree. So that's why I said earlier, like that's why 401k is the reason why I knew I had to start doing that. It was that's why I have to do it, if that makes sense. If the, you know what I'm saying? Is I can't just wait to get past the 401k and move on to the next part of the strategy and figure out what's next. I think that about earlier, how I was saying that a 401k was built maybe how many years ago when that was a good idea? It was an amazing idea back then, I'm sure. And it's still a good idea now. It's a good tool to have in your tool belt, but don't that's not gonna be the only thing that saves you.
Yeah. Leading to multiple income streams are crucial, whether it be side hustles, whether you start investing in real estate, and any other thing that you can generate other income in addition to the 401k. But because what people don't realize, the 401k was never, it was meant to supplement your retirement, but it was never meant to be the be all end all. Look it up, do your research. Maybe we'll do that on another show. It's a neutral statement, but it's not a, I don't have any emotions around it one way or the other. But these are some of the realities that you just don't realize, sometimes. And you're following a path, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, snap. Because I put it into perspective. The max you can put in there on the pre-tax side is, well, I think they've increased it, is 23.5. It was 22.5, so what is it, 23,000?
Something like that. Yep, something like that.
Oh, I max it out and I should know right offhand, but I think they just changed it. I just keep it maxed out. But even maxing out my 401k, I'm still exploring outside of that, right? Okay, so in
Right.
2025, the 401k contribution limit is 23.5. Okay. For employees under 50. This is an increase from 2024. Okay, I thought so. And of course they
Now,
got kids, huh?
why would they max out the contribution limit? That might be another show or another top segment, but I'm curious. I gotta look into that.
And so that's another thing too. So if you're only able to put 20 grand in there, 20, 23 grand in there a year, and that's the only thing you do, all you got to do is get a compounding calculator, an investment calculator, and you start doing the math. You're like, okay, you can come to your own conclusion whenever you put it in there, whatever you think the average return gonna be on that, and even including the compounding the way that you're thinking, because you're talking fat fire, you're like, oh, wait a minute. How do I compress this? It's going to take me 78 years to, no, it's going to take me, 3 or 4 decades for it to be something of significance. Man, I will be 70 or
Right.
65. So it's like, how do you, and so fat fire puts you in that mindset of, wait a minute, 401k, that's fine. How do I compress the time
Mm.
without impacting the foundation and the integrity of the plan that I'm following by trying to like just not be patient, but like meaning side hustle, make more money, real estate, doing this other thing while making your money. Like, and you start to realize, oh, I can't be normal. Like I can't be normal if I want something different.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, waiting too long to, let me uncaps that, long to invest.
Mm.
Waiting too long to invest. Hey, I was in that. I did that. Or if I did it, then I took money out of my 401k. So I'm just saying it in a neutral way. I've been there, done that, corrected it. And so that's why it's like I, I'm a millennial, you are Gen Z, and so you're seeing this now. It gives you an opportunity to like not fall into that pattern. Uh, but for me, I'm past the pattern. And so if you're listening, if you're currently in this space, fine, start where you are, but get going. You have to get going. You have to get going. Whether it be you're going to start investing in your 401k, cool. But that's not the be all end all. Do more, be more. All right, now maybe you need to start getting a brokerage account and start looking into that. Okay. Or maybe you're like, you know what? I want to diversify away from stocks. I want to start saving up for a down payment for a rental property, or maybe I want a house hack because I can get a lower down payment. Whatever your strategy is, there's people out there that have done it. Whatever makes sense for you, but you got to do something. If you want a better future, you have to do something. You being in purgatory or being in fear, Trump this, Trump that, is not going to help you. Whichever side you're on, maybe you super excited on what Trump doing, but okay, but how is Trump helping you build fire?
He's not about to sit in your living room and write the plan with you now. You're gonna have to
So
participate
either
somehow.
way, wherever you fall, it's still on you to make it happen. All the layoffs, you could keep focusing on all these layoffs if you want to. I just use it as reinforcement of like, yep, gotta have to keep control of your life.
Yeah.
You gotta keep it. You are the CEO of your life. We covered a lot there, but I think that it was good conversation. I wanted to get away from some of the other content because these are the conversations we need to have. So we'll make the connections as it relates to things that's happening, but it's going to land back into your financial independence journey, what that means for you. You might love where you work. You might love it, and that's cool. Like you might love where you work, but still challenging you to also think about, okay, what can I be doing in my spare time? All right, we have one house. Maybe it's time for us to get another one. Like,
Mhm.
who told you in your family that once you buy one house, you gotta sell it?
That's the rule, though. No, I have to stick with just one house. I can only do one at a time. No, I thought that was the rule.
Like, who told you that you only had to have one house? Like, who
Wow.
you gotta do something different. Like, think about it. Who told you had to live in the one house that you had forever? Or who told you in one house, in order to get another house, you got to sell that one to move it and then move it. And so you just keep moving money.
Mhm.
But why not play Monopoly? Why not play Monopoly? What you do when you get in Monopoly, what do we do? You get that paycheck when you're going around go. You get
Mhm.
that paycheck, right?
Mhm.
And what do? You trying to buy as many properties as possible
Yeah.
before everybody else buy the properties, right? And you just accumulate property. Then what do? One greenhouse, two greenhouse, three
Yeah.
greenhouse,
Give
four
me a
greenhouse.
hotel.
Then you get that, and then you trade it in for that hotel.
Mhm.
Hey, let's play Monopoly.
Mhm.
Or if your real estate is not your thing, let's lean into those investments. Start understanding, start understanding the stock market more. Understanding what's out there, ETFs, index funds. This stuff isn't complicated, and you don't have to learn it by yourself. Get a community. There's people that have walked the path before you, who, not how, and focus because the journey is long. It's an endurance. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, and that's why the community is really important because the marathon is long. Think about so the last thing I'll say. So think about a marathon. When you run all those miles, you get weary, you get tired, you get exhausted. But if we running it together, and I'm like, bro, keep going, keep going. I know you tired, keep going. Then you keep going. or me, I start gassing out. And you like, nah, bro, come on, bro. Nah, let's get it. Let's get it.
Yeah,
And as a result, we keep going.
man. It's funny. I'm laughing because I saw an example of this in real time yesterday. Not in real time, but I was catching some highlights, some Lakers highlights. Because it was like, oh, the last 3 minutes of this game was intense. They said it was intense. It was okay, but it was Luca and LeBron, and so man, LeBron is 40 years old. Now I'm not, athletically, that's just crazy what he's doing. But it's not a surprise. He invests in his body. We watched it, and so long story short, I heard something that made me pay attention to something. LeBron was like at the scores table. This is like the fourth quarter, last 3 minutes of the game, and he's like up, sitting straight, sitting straight. He's catching his breath, but he up there, mouthpiece hanging out. But and I'm not trash talking Luca, but Luca was looking a little winded. I was noticing. I said, Luca looking, he got his hand on his knees. But we know how Luca is. We know he can be winded and still drop 45. That's not my point. My point is what made me pay attention to this was I think it was either somebody who had went against LeBron or was a teammate of LeBron, but they pointed out how they was talking about one of the things that makes LeBron LeBron. And of course, we talk about points. He's the leading point scorer. Yeah, he's good at scoring. That's one point, but it's also about optics. They said that whenever they was in the fourth quarter, I think it was like in the playoff series, it was fourth quarter, everybody's dog tired, but for some reason, LeBron's always standing up straight like a machine, like a robot, and it's scary. You know how they say MJ had that aura? I bet you LeBron has some aura if you going against him on the court and then you dog tired, got your hands on your knees, and you look up and he just sitting there like he just clocked in the first quarter. That does something to the opponent and to what we're talking about. That does something to your teammates when you're like, okay, LeBron got it. Well, we got it. Then he ain't tired. Then I ain't tired. Okay, actually I am tired, but because he ain't tired, I'm gonna figure it out. I can't. If he doing what he just dropped 48. All I had to do is drop 10. So if he can do it, I can figure out something. So that's it's power. My point is you have to be cognizant of the influence others have on you and the influence you have on others. It goes both ways, but it's powerful.
KB Money Show, another one in the books. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next video, we out.